Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today Nicole and I are jumping back into creating with collections. For this layout, I'm going to be using this page map sketch from September of 2023. And yes, it is going to be a one-page sketch. If you remember, which it has been a little while since Nicole and I have posted a creating with collections layout, but we are using Doodlebug's Tinsel Time. And today I wanted to focus on this particular paper. The teal with the Santa was perfect for these photos of us on the train headed to the North Pole to see Santa. This year at the North Pole, it was a little difficult because we had a major storm come through and it was very, very wet. But that did not stop us from seeing Santa. I wanted to focus on the teal and the red for this layout. So I'm doing a tone on tone, but with two colors. I have only 4 photos for this layout, and they're not the greatest because it's really dark, obviously, because we're going in the evening time, as well as I took the photos with my phone. So I have a selfie of all of us on the train, and then I have a photo of Eli and his friend that he brought with him in front of the train. And then I have a picture of the boys, as well as a picture of my mom, my sister, and my niece. Because the photos are really dark, I did decide to mount them on the background paper, which was the white cardstock, and that really helped them stand out a little bit more. I made sure to place them in the center so that I could be able to cover them up with that Santa paper as well as the red polka dotted petite print. I'm going to add my adhesive to the background paper so I don't adhere my layout to my mat, which you guys know I've done multiple times in the past. Once I got the 2 pieces of paper down, I did add some washi tape to the back of my layout. This washi tape isn't the greatest, so I did use a little bit of liquid adhesive to make sure that the washi tape stayed down. Once I got the washi tape down, then I was ready to get my photos down on the layout and start embellishing. I knew that I wanted to add a piece down to the bottom and I needed something that was in the teal color. I found this teal tone on tone snowflake paper, which I thought was perfect since the teal paper with the Santa Claus on it also had the snowflakes and little sparkles on it. I have this die set that cuts out file tabs, and it's a perfect addition to any of your layouts that need files because you can make it any size that you need. I just have to usually trim off the edge. Once I got it cut out using the die, then I laid it on my layout to figure out what size I needed it to be. I also pulled out my corner rounder because I wanted to round the edges of the corners, and I did struggle a little bit with the file tab side because it was really close. But ultimately I did get it to work. Then I'm going to get the photos down, and I'm continuing to struggle with my ATG, so I had to fix that as well. But I am really excited about working through this creating with collections with Nicole. This is the first time that I'm doing it, and it's really had me think outside the box. But I think what I'm most excited about is that I have been planning out all of the photos for 2023. And I think by the time I finish this series with Nicole, I will have all of my 2023 photos documented, which I have never had any of my Christmas photos completely documented, like everything documented. I was planning out some layouts the other night, and I love using the spreadsheet that I have. I will link my tutorial below on that, but it makes it super easy to be able to pull in one-page layouts as well as double-page layouts, because you guys know I'm a double-page girl. Because I'm doing a single-page layout here, this is actually going to go right next to the Christmas parade, which is also a single page layout. It was a couple days before we went to the North Pole. So on the left-hand side of my double page, it'll be the Christmas parade. This one will be on the right-hand side, and then when you open it up, it will be, I think there's going to be 2 layouts of us actually at the North Pole. So it all plays together. And the spreadsheet has really helped me make sure that I have enough layouts and in the right spot. I did decide to do a little bit of stitching on this layout. I'm actually going to add a red border around the red paper. I pulled out my T-square ruler, and I'm going to use Nicole's technique of drawing with the pencil, because I'm not really good at the corners. I love my Tim Holtz ruler and I will continue to use it. Getting them to line up on the corners is not so easy. So that's when I pull out the pencil and the T-square ruler and then poke my holes and then erase all of the pencil lines. I also decided to add some stitching to that little file tab card as well. I'm going to do some tone on tone coloring. So I did pull out some red as well as some teal to match the swimming pool paper. And you guys know that swimming pool is my favorite color from Doodlebug Petite Prints, and I think that it works so well with this red. I did do my stitching offline, but I slowed the video down here so that you can see all of those details of the stitching on the left-hand side, as well as around that red square, and then of course around that file tab. Then I'm going to start to embellish. The first thing that I pulled out was this Admit One North Pole Santa workshop, which I thought was so much fun. It was perfect for this layout since we're on our way to the North Pole. I did pull out that ho ho ho, but then I was like, oh no, I'm going to only use red and teal. And I struggle with that a little bit because I wanted to use Santa's sled, but as you can see, it has all of the colors on it, and that wasn't going to work for my vision of just the red and teal. I do bring out the Santa sled again, and it stays there for a little bit, but I ultimately end up with just red and teal embellishments. I added this tag down at the bottom that says holiday favorites, but then I found this Santa tag and I didn't like that many words down at the bottom. I then turned to the icons and the puffy stickers and I pulled out a couple pieces, but then I got distracted. My ADHD kicked in and I was like, hey, I need to have a title. So I'm going to use the same teal paper with the snowflakes to spell out my title, Here We Come. So my entire title will say Santa, Here We Come, using the word Santa from that tag. I'm using Nicole's Dicker technique here where I'm stacking 2 pieces of white cardstock, and then on top of that I'm going to put the pattern paper, which is that teal with the snowflakes. This alphabet die does come from scrapbook.com and I will link it below for you guys. It's a great scripty font. I actually purchased it as a bundle with 2 other fonts, but you can purchase it individually as well. I'm going to get the word Santa down flat, and then I'm going to use some liquid adhesive to get all of my letters down as well. We go to the North Pole every single year. We've been going, I think, for 14 years now. It is through the Florida Historical Railroad Museum. So the train is like super old because it's historical. And then they take us over to the North Pole. There are milk and cookies, activities for the kids to do. And then, of course, the main event is seeing Santa. I have already done the photos for Santa. I will link that video below for you guys if you'd like to check it out. I did go ahead and put my journaling on the layout. I just went with something really simple. It says, all aboard the North Pole Express. Seeing Santa each year has become a tradition that never loses its magic. So I just have 3 lines of journaling and I'm going to add it right there to that file tab below the selfie of all of us. Of course, I had to pull out my T-square ruler to make sure that my journaling strips were straight. And then I am back to embellishing. I thought about adding that holiday tradition right below my journaling, but again, it was too many words. And I really wanted to have just a bunch of red and teal embellishments. I get hung up sometimes with things that need to match. You guys all know that I am a themey girl. I like things to be very on theme, but I had to set that aside for this layout. These photos are of us on the train. But for me to be able to use just the red and teal colors from the collection, I had to step out of that themey box and just go with Christmas as opposed to the North Pole or seeing Santa. And while I did bring in several pieces for Santa, I also brought in other pieces. I brought in a red Christmas tree, but then I also brought in things like the jingle bells as well as the ornament hooks, because even though they're not Santa related, they're still Christmas related, and I was just going with color for this layout. I brought in pieces from the ephemera packs as well as the puffy stickers and the icons and mini icons. I was trying to work largest to smallest by pulling in the bigger pieces like the toy sack as well as that tree first, and then moving into those medium pieces. And then I'm finally going to end up with the smaller pieces. I also used several different types of foam adhesive to include 1mm and 2mm foam strips from scrapbook.com, and then also laying some of the pieces flat to the layout. It gives these embellishments so much texture because I have different pieces like the puffy stickers as well as the flat embellishments. And then by adding them flat to the layout and using the foam adhesive, it just makes it all stand out so well. And I'm just in love with that top cluster. I did add a tag right to the top of my stitching, and I'm going to add the year 2023 on that with a stamp set. And then down at the bottom, I felt like, well, I should go ahead and just add maybe another little scene down there, similar to the one that's at the top. I started with that red tag that says family, and then I moved into any of the pieces that would work. Because this was such a smaller area, this is where I'm using more of the icons and the mini icons in this area because they're such a smaller piece. And I've said this before on my videos, this is why I love Doodlebug so much, is because if you purchase all of the embellishments to include the ephemera pieces as well as the icons and the mini icons, you can create these scenes. And sometimes you can have the exact same piece, like that red tree up in the top, that comes from the ephemera piece. Down in the bottom, that comes from the mini icon. And the size difference is significant. And it works so well because I can tie in having multiple pieces that are the same but different sizes. I think I added a lot more red pieces to this section because I had the teal background, and then I tried to add more of the teal pieces to the top since it was sitting on a red background. Of course, I do have some teal pieces at the bottom and some red pieces at the top as well, but I did try to focus more on the red at the bottom and the teal at the top. And then I started to work through smaller pieces by pulling out some of the sprinkles. And I didn't want to add jute twine or other twine to that Santa tag. I did find a little Christmas light to cover up the tag hole, and I think that it worked perfectly. Then I pulled out my stamp sets from scrapbook.com to add that 2023 up at the top. And then that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. Make sure you go check out Nicole's video that she has posted today. And we are super excited to have another layout for you guys in regards to creating with the collections. We're nowhere near finished with this, but we have a fun surprise for you guys coming really, really soon. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.